Hazel Grace Lancaster is 16 years old and living a life shaped by illness. Thyroid cancer spread to her lungs when she was 13, and although experimental drugs have stabilized her condition, the oxygen tank she drags behind her is a constant reminder that her time is uncertain. Her parents love her deeply, but they live in quiet fear, watching every breath she takes. Hazel spends most of her days at home reading, rewatching old TV shows, and thinking about death more than any teenager should. She believes she is a grenade, destined to explode one day and hurt everyone who gets too close. Concerned about her isolation and depression, Hazel's mother insists she attend a cancer support group for teens. Hazel hates the idea. She finds the meetings painfully cliché, full of forced optimism and empty reassurances. Still, she goes, sitting in a church basement under a large wooden cross. The group leader encourages everyone to share, but Hazel usually stays silent, watching the others talk about their fears and hopes. One day, a new boy joins the group. His name is Augustus Waters. He is confident, witty, and unusually handsome, with a crooked smile that suggests he knows he is charming. Augustus lost his right leg to osteosarcoma but is currently cancer-free. He introduces himself with humor instead of self-pity, immediately standing out from the rest. Hazel notices him staring at her, not with pity, but with curiosity. It unsettles her. After the meeting, Augustus approaches Hazel and starts talking to her as if they are equals, not patients. He teases her gently about her obsession with her oxygen tank, calling it her little friend. Hazel bristles at first, but she also feels something unfamiliar. Interest. Augustus invites her to his house, and despite her instincts to keep her distance from people, she agrees. At Augustus's home, Hazel meets his best friend Isaac, who is losing his eyesight due to cancer. The three of them bond over sarcasm, video games, After the disastrous meeting with Peter Van Houten, Hazel feels hollow and embarrassed. The man whose words once gave her comfort turned out to be cruel and broken, and the answers she wanted so badly are denied to her. She blames herself for believing that a book, or its author, could offer some grand meaning to suffering. Augustus tries to lighten the mood, but Hazel can see the anger and disappointment burning beneath his calm exterior. For the first time on the trip, the magic of Amsterdam feels fragile. To salvage the day, Augustus surprises Hazel by taking her to the Anne Frank house. The visit is quiet and deeply emotional. As Hazel walks through the narrow rooms and staircases, she is struck by how Anne Frank faced death and fear with courage and hope. Hazel feels small but also strangely connected to something larger than her own illness. When she reaches the attic, overwhelmed by emotion and short of breath, she sits down, fighting tears. In that intimate moment, surrounded by silence and history, Augustus kisses Hazel. It is not hurried or dramatic. It is sincere, full of promise and gratitude. The other visitors quietly applaud, not out of spectacle, but recognition of something genuine. Hazel feels a rare sense of joy, unburdened by fear. For a brief moment, illness fades into the background, and love takes center stage. That evening, Augustus takes Hazel to a fancy restaurant overlooking the canals. He makes a speech about how she has given him a taste of infinity, even if it is small. Hazel is deeply moved, realizing how deeply he sees her, not as a patient, but as a person. She feels undeserving and yet profoundly grateful. The night ends with them returning to the hotel, where they finally give in to their love fully. It is tender, awkward, and real, shaped by vulnerability rather than perfection. The next morning, the tone shifts. Augustus becomes quiet and withdrawn. Hazel senses that something is wrong, but he brushes it off, insisting he is just. After the pre-funeral, Augustus's decline becomes faster and more painful to witness. His body, once athletic and confident, now feels like a betrayal to him. He needs constant care, and the independence he valued so deeply slips away day by day. Hazel watches this transformation with quiet heartbreak. She does not look away, even when it hurts, even when it scares her. She understands now that love is not proven in grand gestures, but in staying when everything becomes difficult. Augustus struggles most with the idea of being forgotten. He talks about oblivion as if it is a second death, worse than the physical one approaching him. Hazel listens, holding his hand, trying to ground him in what is real. She tells him that he matters because he mattered to her. That loving and being loved leaves a mark that does not disappear. Augustus wants to believe her, but fear still creeps in during the quiet moments. One night, Hazel receives a call from Augustus, his voice weak and shaking. He is at a gas station, unable to manage his pain and his medical equipment. Panic rises in her chest as she realizes he tried to handle things on his own, refusing to admit how fragile he has become. Hazel rushes out with her parents, finding him collapsed and humiliated, surrounded by strangers who do not know his story. She kneels beside him, speaking softly, reminding him that needing help does not erase who he is. The incident marks a turning point. Augustus can no longer pretend that he is in control. The reality of death becomes unavoidable, heavy, and intimate. Hazel feels anger toward the disease, toward the universe, toward the unfairness of watching someone so full of life be stripped down to suffering. Yet beneath the anger is a fierce tenderness. She knows that loving him means walking with him through this final stretch, no matter how unbearable it becomes. As time passes, their world shrinks. Hospital rooms replace parks and conversations grow quieter. Augustus sleeps more. Augustus dies quietly, without drama, leaving a silence that feels heavier than noise ever could. Hazel receives the news and feels the world tilt, as if gravity itself has shifted. There is no explosion, no moment of clarity, just a dull ache that settles into her chest. She had prepared herself for this moment, but preparation does not soften loss. It only makes it recognizable. At the funeral, Hazel watches people speak about Augustus as if he is already a memory. She listens to the words, but they feel distant, detached from the boy she knew. Peter Van Houten appears unexpectedly, offering a eulogy filled with regret and bitterness. Hazel is furious. She sees him not as a grieving man, but as someone who failed Augustus when he needed kindness. Isaac confronts Van Houten openly, voicing the anger Hazel cannot fully express. The moment is messy and uncomfortable, but honest. It feels more real than the polished speeches meant to console. After the funeral, Hazel drifts through her days in a quiet fog. Grief does not scream. It whispers. It appears in small, cruel moments. Empty text message threads. A chair that no one sits in anymore. A joke that has no audience. Hazel realizes that grief is love with nowhere to go. She allows herself to feel it fully, understanding now that avoiding pain also means avoiding meaning. One afternoon, Hazel receives an unexpected email from Van Houten. Despite her anger, she reads it. The message explains that Augustus asked him to help write something for Hazel before he died. Reluctantly, Hazel agrees to meet him again. This time, the encounter is different. Van Houten is still broken, but there is remorse in him now. He gives Hazel a letter written by Augustus. Hazel reads the letter alone. Augustus writes about how he never believed in happy endings, only meaningful ones. He tells Hazel that loving her was the best part of his life, not because it saved him, but because it made him real. He thanks her for choosing him, even